Hey, I'm Akurios and I'm back again from my studio, Silum 7 Music Studio. And today, first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking out time. Thank you for being on the other side of the video and always trying to tap and see what I have to say. I'm grateful for your attention and your audience. Thank you so much. Now, this video is a continuation or a follow-up to a video I did a couple of weeks ago. I think maybe 2 weeks ago about recording decent vocals. There's going to be a link in the description to that particular video. So if you want to follow up and compare things and really have, a backstory to what I'm about to show you, then that would be fantastic for you. In that video, I talked about certain tips and guidelines that would help you record decent vocals. Now, in this video, I'm going to be showing you my own style of recording vocals and exactly how I go through my signal chain and how I record vocals into my computer. I'll also be showing you some techniques I also employ when I want to manipulate the sound of the vocal before it goes into my system. But before we go into all that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you are notified when there's new content and when there's new helpful audio recording tips, guideline videos that will improve and help you grow as a recordist. Now, first of all, one of the things that we talked about in the previous video, of course, is the tools and the materials that we need to record vocals in the studio. The mic stand, the microphone itself, the shock mount to prevent vibrations and all that, and the pop shield that we have here. Now, having talked about all that, I'm not going to go into that deeply, but I'm just going to show you one or two things that you can do to alter the sound of the singer in the studio, or it could be a spoken word artist, it could be maybe someone who's just recording for a podcast. These are things that can help you improve the sound of the voice going into the system so that you may not necessarily need to apply equalizers and compressors and all that, so that you can reduce the amount of processing that you would have to apply on the vocals in the box. Now, first of all, if you're dealing with a singer that has a very chest-heavy voice, now, singers have head voice, there's the mix, and there's the chest voice. That's our speaking voice. Now, when we sing, we tend to go a little bit in between. That's the natural way most singers sound. A little bit of both, mix of the head voice and the chest voice. But if you happen to have a singer who is very chest heavy and the chest voice is coming through too much, now what you may want to do is raise the mic stand so it's closer to the nose level. So it goes above the mouth and it's somewhere here. Now you would begin to hear more of the head voice and a little less of the chest voice. Yes, it's very subtle. It's something that you would need to, not every single person is going to notice, but it goes a long way when you're dealing with someone who is very chest voice heavy. So just raise the microphone a little bit above the mouth level and closer to the nose, that's closer to the nasal cavity, so that you have more of the head voice. Okay? Now, for someone who is very head voice heavy, what you would want to do is lower the microphone so that the person is above the microphone, so that the microphone capsule is at the level around the jaw, just below the lips, so that you can have more chest voice. Now, why would you want more chest voice? Maybe the voice is sounding too thin and too light, and you would want a little more heft to the sound of the voice going in the recording stage. Now, you would want to do that. Just lower the microphone so that you have more chest voice captured. Now, secondly, you may be dealing with a singer who has a lot of sibilants, whose S sounds are very resonant. Words like sit, sat, words like his, those S sounds are very resonant and heavy, and it almost sounds as if the person is whistling whenever they pronounce that consonant sound. Now, in such cases, what you need to do is tilt the microphone a little away from directly pointing at the singer's mouth so that the microphone capsule is not directly facing the lips of the singer or the spoken word artist. And also slant the pop shield so that it's placed at an angle to the singer's head. All right, so that it creates a kind of more, like a little bit more surface area to tackle the sibilance from the lips, from the mouth of the singer. The same applies for plosives. If you're dealing with a speaker or a singer whose voice is very heavy on the consonant sounds like P, B, D, and all that. Now, it would also help to slant the microphone, place it at an angle so that those bursts of air and those heavy consonant sounds are dulled a little bit. All right, now so let's head into my signal chain and see what I'm doing in the mixer and the audio interface going into my Pro Tools. All right, now here we are at my mixer. Now this is of course the Yamaha O2R96 version 2, and I'm coming in on channel 3. Now of course this is the input section where we have the phantom power. Make sure the phantom power is on. If you're using a condenser microphone, of course, whether it's a large diaphragm or small diaphragm, make sure the phantom power is on so that you can have signal. Now, coming into this channel, I have a lot of options. There's the option of the gain on the preamp section. Now, I prefer for the gain to be around 9 o'clock. Like I said in the previous video, when I'm dealing with a condenser microphone like this. If it was a dynamic microphone, then I would go closer to 12 o'clock, right at the middle there. Now, that is the first gain stage in the gain staging process. Now, that's the first gain stage where I have to set the gain correctly. That determines how much signal is coming into the desk, into the Yamaha mixer. Now, so once I've determined how much signal I want to come in, and it's enough, it's more than enough, it's adequate, then I now determine how much signal goes out of the mixer down here in the fader section. Now you can see that the fader is around 10, and that's like a default for me when doing these kind of voiceovers or even vocals. I can use this same level for recording vocals for a song. And now this determines the signal, the amount of signal going out of the mixer, out of the Yamaha into the audio interface. And now we can see on the Focusrite Scarlett 8920 second generation, I'm coming in at channel 5, and you can see the signal indicating that there's something coming in at channel 5. Now you can see where this knob is also, and that's the third stage of the gain stage. Now this determines how much signal is going into the computer now, and this level is adequate. It's more than enough, and it sounds good at this level. Now let's go back to the Yamaha mixer for a couple of minutes. All right, now I have options here in the mixer. I could decide to use the EQ, I could decide to use the compressor, I could decide to use effects in the desk before heading out of the desk into the Focusrite. But in this case, I'm not doing any of that. All I have is just a high pass filter around, that's around 80 Hertz. Now, and it's a soft filter. It's not very drastic because I wouldn't want to lose too much low end on the sound of my voice. So I could decide to have more EQ if there are some frequencies I think I need to boost or some frequencies I really need to take out. That's when I would introduce and use the EQ on that channel. Now, talking about the compressor is something I use a little bit more often than you would find me using the EQ, because sometimes you'd have a singer who is very, very dynamic, who can sing very quiet, and then all of a sudden their voices are so loud and it's going out of control. And so in such situations, I would use a compressor to tame the very loud parts and boost the very quiet parts so that it's more even. I'm not going to make it a block of sound or something. I'm just going to make it's still going to be dynamic. It's still going to be natural sounding, but the quiet parts are going to be a little bit louder because they are too quiet. That's why I need to use the compressor to bring them up a bit. And then I would use the compressor also to tame the very loud parts that could be an issue, could actually, overload the preamp. So the use of these effects, the EQ and the compressor, will only come up when there's a need for them in the recording stage. Now, I would also have to mention saturation or harmonic distortion, which some recording equipment also introduce to the signal. Now, this desk also happens to introduce some saturation, some heft and warmth to the signal that I've noticed, especially when you're recording several vocals, and when you put them together you begin to hear the effect of the internal workings of the channels. Now, this is something I've experimented on for myself, and it's something that also informs the level of the gain on the preamp section. And because I'm also going into my Focusrite Scarlett 8920, the fader level on the channel I'm recording through on the desk will also be set at a particular point that will determine the amount of saturation going out of the desk into the Focusrite and ultimately into Pro Tools. All right, I hope you found that very helpful. I hope you got some tips and guidelines that will improve your recording skills and help you in your audio engineering life and with your work in the studio. And if you did, please tap the like button, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified when I have more content, more audio content, and more recording tips for you. All right, so till next time when we see again, I'm Akurios and I'm out.